Hi guys! Kamusta? My name is Jen and welcome back to our YouTube channel, To Bring Together. Last week, I've shared baka delay itong post na to pag hindi pa na-edit agad. Anyway, yung last vlog ko, nursing vlog, is about day in my life where I told about my work routine as a Cath Lab nurse. Since then, ayun, there's people asking me how to become a Cath Lab nurse. For this video, I will be sharing how did I become a Cath Lab nurse. And if you haven't yet to subscribe on our YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell para you'll be updated with my nursing journey and as well as our family stories here in Australia. Stay tuned! Paano ba natin sisimulan to? First of all, what is a Cath Lab ba? So, ano nga ba? Actually, hindi ko din alam na merong Cath Lab nurse. Back when I was working in the Philippines, hindi ko alam na meron palang ganong specialty. Usually naman in the Philippines, mostly na kilala is yung ICU nurse, OR nurse, ER, ganyan ka naka-assign. Wow! So, wala akong idea before there's this field na Cath Lab. In the Philippines, I worked in a medical surgical unit. Step down ICU siya yung area namin. 5 years ako nag-work sa medical surgical unit. And then after that, I applied to become a nurse in Singapore. And meron din akong video dyan. How did I apply as a nurse in Singapore? So check nyo lang dyan sa link na yan. Ayan, nandito yata yan. I was assigned cardiology ward. So ward pa rin ako, bedside nursing pa rin. Mostly, yung kinikater naming patients, cardiovascular diseases. Sa Singapore ko na nalaman kasi yung batch namin ng agency, ayan, magulo na naman yung kwento ko. Nag-apply kami sa Singapore because we were distributed to different areas. Merong, yun nga, katulad ko, cardiology ward. The rest is for cardiothoracic surgery ward. Iba naman sa cardiovascular lab. It's the only time I knew of the Cath Lab area. Ayan, after 4 years, I felt that I wanted to have a change from bedside nursing. Na-comfort zone na ako. So, I wanted to try another skills. So, ayun, may nagpupukpok ng bahay natin na. Parang, Dada, nagbayad ka ba ng bahay? Parang pinupukpok na yung natin dito, bahay natin dito
ng 7th floor.
Ayun, I wanted to try a new skill, diba? That time kasi, there wasn't any available position dun sa hospital ko for the Cath Lab. So, I have no choice but to transfer to another institution. So, I tried applying to other hospitals. So, luckily, I was given the opportunity. It's a day procedure clinic. And at the same time, they're doing Cath Lab. I was very honest at that time. I don't have any Cath Lab experience. But of course, I'm willing to learn yung mga ganyang sagot natin sa interview. Thankfully naman, I was given the chance to work with them. So, I was fortunate enough that I was accepted to work there, even though I don't have any Cath Lab experience. So, I started my Cath Lab career in Singapore. Just worked for a year. Although I started doing Cath Lab, parang mga 3rd month ko pa lang, they wanted me to learn the day procedures muna, like yung mga stress tests, doing stress tests, hooking up patients to Holter monitors. And then in the afternoon, we do, yun nga, yung angiograms, and PCIs. PCIs or yung angioplasty. First, syempre, because it's a new skill or a new experience, it's kind of difficult because parang may mga Cath Lab lingos na wires, different catheters, different doctors also have different terms. With the help of my mentors and the doctors as well, I was able to gain that knowledge and the skills of Cath Lab procedures. And at that time, sa Singapore, we only have few cases. Usually just do it in the afternoon. Just have like 2 to 3 cases in a day. So I had that experience pero hindi pa talaga siya ganun ka-polish. Few months lang yung Cath Lab experience ko. And then we moved here na in Australia. Yun nga, hindi muna ako nag-work for almost 3 years then. Kasi nga, there's no one to look after Marshall. So I have to stay at home mom for that time. When I had my nursing registration na to work here in Australia, since I also have some Cath Lab experience, so yun na yung mga ina-applyan ko dito. Syempre dahil hindi nga rin ako nakapag-work for almost 3 years, medyo na na-stuck yung mga stuck knowledge ko. Though yung first job ko, I just worked for permanent part-time. Mga 2 days lang ako nun. I was honest naman that I didn't work for a couple of years and I needed training. But at that time kasi medyo understaffed din, I think. I wasn't really trained that much. Bigla ka sa work routine kasi syempre first job ko here in Australia. Tapos yun nga, medyo nawala ako sa pacing. Cath Lab experience ko naman that time in Singapore was not really that much. Medyo nahirapan talaga ako noon to cope up dun sa first job ko. So mostly, they just put me on recovery, dun sa admission and recovery of the patients, pre and post procedure. I don't mind naman as long as my job ako. Of course, I wanted to grade your skills and I really wanted to learn procedures in the lab. To cut the story short, nag-resign ako dun sa previous job ko. Just in time lang naman because at that time, Dada had to work overseas. So, we needed someone to look after Marshall again. So, I had to stop working again. For a few months, ayun, nag-apply ulit ako. And thankfully, I was accepted dito sa current hospital that I'm working. So, dito sa bago kong work, good thing is they really provided training. I was on a supernumerary shift. I worked with a body nurse for quite some time until I'm able to do it on my own na. Eventually, na-catch up ko naman siya. So, ano ba yung Cath Lab? That's an area which we do minimally invasive procedures. Basically, angiograms or angioplasty. Angiogram is a confirmatory test using radiation to check for any blockage dun sa arteries of the heart. Angioplasty naman, the procedure where we do ballooning or stent, open up the blockage. But of course, maraming kinoconsider na factors doon such as yung percentage ng blockage and yung age din ng pasyente. Depends on the patient's condition. And so aside from angiograms and angioplasty, there are also other heart-related procedures like yung pacemaker insertions, mga right heart study, meron pang mga tinatawag na FFR or yung fractional flow reserve, TOES or yung mga transesophageal echocardiogram and cardioversion. For those wanting to be a Cath Lab nurse, there's a lot of things to absorb. Doing the procedure, how's the routine, being familiar with the catheters, with the equipments, and all the wires. Ganun naman talaga sa umpisa, you'll start at zero, you'll get into the flow once you do it more hands-on. Watch ka muna, observe kung anong ginagawa nila. As time goes by, I realize na it's quite a routinary procedure. May question pa sa akin kung ano daw yung mga kung kailangan ba ng certificates para maging Cath Lab nurse. As what I've mentioned, when I applied dun sa first hospital ko na pinagtrabahuan to work as a Cath Lab nurse, wala namang hiningi sa akin na parang special certificates. Although the usual basic life support, advanced life support, they look for that. It helps din yung working experience. I've worked in the Philippines for 5 years na rin, and then I had a cardiology background na rin in Singapore. So I think those experiences really helped a lot for me to get into the Cath Lab position. Other than that, wala namang special certificates required. As far as I know. But here in Australia, usually if you apply for a Cath Lab position, yung application ads usually put up na desirable yung Cath Lab work experience. Ang gusto ko dito is you really find yourself working in a team and you get to work really alongside with the doctors. Although at first, of course, medyo intimidating kasi sa scrub nurse, yung nurse, assistant talaga ng doctors, and then there's another scout nurse getting all the equipments that you need because scrub nurse needs to be sterile. The scout nurse is the unsterile one, so she will be the one getting all the supplies needed, all other equipments as well, looking after the patient. If the patient needs something, she will go to the patient is also anesthetist. Maganda kasi parang work collaboration talaga with the team. So at first, syempre parang mahihiya ka pag bago ka, hindi mo pa alam yung gagawin. It's scary, which I felt that way before. Sometimes until now, depende din yan sa mood ng mga doctors. Sometimes they got mood swings as well. And different doctors also have different preferences. They have different catheters. They have different positions that they want. Eventually, pag nagawa mo na rin naman ng routinary or paulit-ulit to get into the flow, normal lang naman to make mistakes as long as hindi naman na yung safety ng pasyente. Yung mga wires, yung mga catheters, at first, hindi pa natin alam kung paano kahawakan or kung paano i-coil and everything. Times na mahuhulog mo yung catheter, ma-unsterile ka. Sa new work ko is 1 year na rin ako dito. Parang roughly mga getting into 3 years pa lang din naman yung Cath Lab experience ko. Dun sa angiogram and PCI, comfortable doing it na. I feel better doing it as compared, syempre kapag nag-uumpisa ka na. Pero minsan, like, ang tagal kong hindi nakapag-lab. For, kunyari, nag-leave ako ng 1 to 2 weeks, ganyan. And then, babalik ako doon. Feeling ko na naman na bago na, paano na nga ulit to? Ano nang gagawin? It's normal, I guess. But there's still a lot of procedures that I need to work on. Sometimes kasi you get to do a procedure and then after some time ulit bago mo magawa. So, nowadays also I've started to do pacemaker insertion, assisting with the pacemaker insertions. Parang it's another land na naman. Every day naman is a new learning experience. If you have any other questions, just comment down below. And if you have any other stories that you would want me to share, feel free to comment down on the comment box. I will try to share as much as I can. Minsan walang time mag-edit ng video. Napakaraming videos namin actually, pero we have to prioritize din family first before makapag-edit ng video. Pero yun nga, as much as we can, we will upload more stories. Like our Facebook page para you'll be updated with our stories. And ayan, thank you to those who subscribe on this YouTube channel because we are already 1,000. We already have more than 1,000 subscribers. Very thankful kami. Ayan, sa mga nagsusupport ng mga videos namin. Please continue to watch, and for those who haven't subscribed, just subscribe on our YouTube channel, and don't forget to ring that notification bell para you'll be updated too with our stories. Ayan, tanghali na, lunch time na eh. And mamaya magsusundo na ulit kay Marshall. Buhay Australia. So see you again. Bye!